This is 8.5, solving rational equations. We are going to solve rational equations by two different styles. One setup is when you have a single fraction on the left and a single fraction on the right, then you just simply cross multiply. You don't need to write these steps down. You'll get enough practice in the examples today. The second type is when you have more than one fraction on a single side. These are more challenging. First thing is, we want to change the subtraction sign to addition if there is one, then factor all the denominators, and then you multiply every term by the common denominator over 1. We want to cancel or eliminate each individual denominator, multiply the leftover numerators by the stuff, and then solve the remaining equation. Sometimes there is extraneous solutions, and sometimes there's no solution possible in these equations. So let's go on to our first example. The first example is what I call the easy ones, where we have a single fraction on the left and a single fraction on the right. So we use cross multiplication. We did these a lot in Algebra 1. So remember cross multiplication. I multiply across. I take x times x minus 4. And then I multiply across. 15 times x minus 6. And then what you do is you solve this linear equation. So we're going to distribute through the x and the 15. So on the left side, distribute the x, and you get x squared minus 4x. Notice a x squared popped up. That's a quadratic equation. So that means you might have up to 2 answers possible. Then we'll distribute the 15. So 15 times x is 15x, and then 15 times negative 6 is negative 90. Now we have that quadratic equation, so we have to convert it to standard form and then see if we can factor it, and then using the zero product property. So I'm going to move the 15x and then negative 90 over to the left side. So x squared minus 4x stays as it is, and I'm going to subtract 15x and then add 90. And then set it equal to 0. Now it's getting closer to standard form. See if you can combine any like terms. In this case, there are 2 like terms that combine to negative 19x. Now it's in standard form. So we look to see what methods of factoring we can do. We can use the chart method. And we say, what are the factors of c, so 90, that add to b, negative 19? Well, negative 9 times negative 10 is positive 90. Add it, you get negative 19. So these are the numbers we're going to work with. We split up our 2 parentheses. X minus 9 minus 10. We have in factored form, so now we can use the zero product property. We get x equals 9 and x equals 10. We do want you to check by substituting back into the original equation to verify that those truly are solutions to this equation, because not every one of these will possibly work. All right, let's go on to the more difficult types of questions that you might see in your homework. These are when you have multiple terms or fractions on one side or both sides. So remember, we want to first factor all the denominators and then multiply all the terms by the LCD. So I would recommend that you write this down, and then we'll do this problem together. In this example, there is no factoring needed. So we go on to find the least common denominator. So if we look at the common denominator, there's an x here, This is really over a 1. There's an x here. And then this is over 1. So the common denominator to make all of the fractions alike, which we call the least common denominator, is x. So what we do is we multiply all 4 terms by the LCD. So 15 over x times x minus 4 times x, 6 over x times x, and then plus 3 times x. Notice each term is multiplied by an x. After you do that, see what you can cancel. I can cancel an x and an x. I can cancel an x and an x. So now what I'm left with in the first term is 15, and then negative 4 times x is negative 4x equals, then I'm left with a 6 because the x is canceled out, and then the last is 3 times x is 3x. Now I solve this equation as a linear equation. We try to combine like terms. So I'm going to bring that 6 to the left side. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. So 15 minus 6 is 9. Then I want to get the negative 4x to the right. So I'm going to add 4x. Combine like terms again. I get 7x. Last step is to undo that multiplying 7. So divide both sides by 7. And my answer is x equals 9/7. I just solved the equation for x. Substitute it back in again to see if that truly is the answer. All right, let's go on to this example. We have 1 over t plus 1/3 equals 8 over 3t, and we want to find out what is the value of t. There are multiple fractions going on the left side, so we want to find the LCD. The LCD, the least common denominator, is I have a t in the first fraction, I have a 3 in the second fraction, I have a 3t. So to find the least common denominator, take it out, 3t. So to multiply all 3 terms by the LCD, 3t. So 1 over t times 3t plus 1 over 3 times 3t equals 8 over 3t times 3t. Now let's see what cancels. A t cancels, a 3 cancels, and a 3t cancels. So now let's see what we're left with. We're left with a 1 times a 3, which is 3, plus a 1 times a t, which is a t, equals, and then just an 8 on the right. So now we solve this equation for t. So we undo that 3 by subtracting 3 from both sides. So our answer is 5. So the value of this equation for t is 5. We just have a couple examples left. I'm going to stop the recording there.